Your food stamp benefits are about to be cut and probably replaced with a government box that is shipped to you every month with food that the government picks that you have to eat. Now, President Trump is about to make good on his promise to replace part of the food stamp program with a box he called the Harvest Box. This is something the president has tried to do before and wasn't successful. And it looks like the breaking news coming out of the White House today is that there's this idea called a MAHA food box. And if you connect the dots with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., it appears that this is what's about to happen. Your food stamps benefits, at least some of it, is about to be turned into a box that the government ships to you every month with food that they pick, and then you do whatever you want to do with it. Also, they are cutting millions of people off the food stamps program, including seniors, families, and veterans. I have the details of the budget proposal that the president has put forward before Congress that is going to slash billions and billions of dollars from the food stamps program. There is a lot to cover today. Stay with me. Hello, I'm Kwame Kwadim. I am a personal finance expert and entrepreneur. For 15 years, I've been creating content for seniors to help them get the retirement benefits they deserve. And we started with websites. We've been creating websites on food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security benefits. And now we're adding video content. I'm also an adjunct professor. I teach finance to graduate students at one of the most prestigious universities in the country. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We really do appreciate your help. And as always, as I always do in my broadcast, I want to know where you're watching this from. Go in the comment section and let me know your city and your state. There is so much happening in the food stamps front that I want to bring to you, including this breaking news out of the White House today, the press release that went out with this idea of a MAHA food box, which led me down a path to do the research and find out what exactly is going on here and how is this connected to the Harvest Box idea that the president has been trying to push for years. So President Trump outlines the health agency cuts in annual FY 2026 budget proposals. And here is the statement that I want you to pay attention to. So the discretionary budget builds on the president's MAHA commission. It provides resources to the Department of Health and Human Services that will allow the secretary to tackle issues related to nutrition. Why is that important? Well, RFK Jr. has been trying to cut food stamps and its use in settings, and he wants to reform how the food stamps program works. And part of this is focusing the program on what he considers a healthy lifestyle. So here in this press release, it says that the over reliance on medication and treatments affects people, and so now they want to, change the way we eat and what we eat. And the budget supports the creation of MAHA food boxes that will be filled with commodities sourced from domestic farmers and given directly to the American households. You know that it's not going to be free. And this is why I think it's designed for the food stamps program, because RFK Jr. has said a lot about food stamps. He's encouraging states to apply waivers to ban the purchase of soda, candy, and other junk foods in SNAP. He argues that SNAP benefits should not subsidize unhealthy eating habits and contribute to chronic diseases like obesity and diabetes. And then he's working with the USDA. Here's where you can connect the dots. He's working with the USDA, and he says he's collaborating with the Agricultural Secretary to implement changes. These proposed changes align with RFK's broader MAHA agenda to address chronic diseases and improve the health. So this is not all bad. The problem is that the food stamp program, as you know it today, may not be what is going to be around when these guys get done with it. And here is where the Harvest Box came about. President Trump has wanted to do this for a long time. He's wanted to take the SNAP program and turn it into a Harvest Box where the government picks the food and ships it to you every month, and then you eat it or not. But that's all you get. So Trump's new budget that was back then, you know, and when he ran, it was something that they talked about. He wanted to resurrect this Harvest Box idea. And then in February 2025, we picked up on this news article about Trump and the Harvest Box. And so we dug deep into it. And it says, back then, the biggest thing he wanted to do was to withhold portions of SNAP benefits and instead provide people with a box of non-perishable food. Roughly 80% of SNAP authorized retailers are small businesses. So basically, rather than you taking the card and going to buy your own food, the government will ship you a box of food for you to eat. And here again, it was put in the news. The Harvest Board makes another comeback. And in this article that I'm showing you right now from Vox Media, it talks about the return of the Harvest Box. And prior to that, the president has put that in his budget, put a lot of money behind the Harvest Box. And I'm showing you the budget from the previous time he tried to do this. And you can see a line item in there that talks about cut SNAP benefits and shift a portion to food boxes. So now I'm about to talk about cuts that are coming up, and then you can connect the dots about this MAHA box showing up all of a sudden, and then the president proposing cuts to food stamps now, like he did before in the previous budget, and you can draw your own conclusion of what's about to happen. So let's talk about the major cuts that are about to affect food stamp recipients, including seniors, veterans, and families. So Congress is considering the largest reduction of SNAP in history, with $230 billion in cuts over the next decade. This is triple the size of any previous cuts and will dramatically shrink the nation's food safety net. Over 42 million Americans rely on SNAP to help buy food and groceries each month. If these cuts pass, up to 9 million people will lose their benefits entirely. Nearly 80% of SNAP households include a child, senior, or person with disability. These groups are especially vulnerable to losing access to food assistance. Charities warn they cannot absorb the surge in demand if millions lose food assistance. This could trigger a national hunger emergency as food banks are already stretched thin. So, who will be the hardest hit? Seniors and people with disabilities. SNAP is a lifeline for many seniors and disabled individuals, helping them afford basic nutrition as food prices climb. Without these benefits, many will be forced to choose between food and other essentials like medication. Children are also in the crosshairs. Nearly 15 million children, about 40% of all SNAP recipients, depend on these benefits for healthy meals. Losing SNAP will mean more kids go hungry and struggle in school. And then communities of color disproportionately affected, Black, Latino, and Native households are more than twice as likely as white households to rely on SNAP. These communities will be hit hard by any benefit reduction. And then working families are also going to be affected. Many SNAP recipients are employed but still struggle to afford groceries. Cuts will push these working families deeper into hardship and insecurity. So, what numbers are we looking at? Is this such a big deal that we should be talking about it? Well, if Congress approves these proposed cuts, as many as 9 million people will be dropped from the SNAP program. This will mark one of the largest single increases in food insecurity in U.S. history. And then there's 22 million households that are at risk. SNAP currently supports 22 million households, representing more than 1 in 10 American families. Every one of these households will face a possibility of a reduction or eliminated benefits. And then some states are going to be hard hit. California, Texas, Florida, and New York will see millions affected, but no state will be spared. Rural and urban communities alike will experience increased hunger and hardship. And large households, especially with kids, could lose over $250 a month in assistance. This dramatic loss could force parents to skip meals or cut back on nutrition for their children. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these cuts are unprecedented. The $230 million in proposed reduction is more than triple any previous cuts to food assistance. This will fundamentally reshape the program and its ability to fight hunger. And then there'll be a 20% drop in food assistance. These cuts will reduce SNAP spending by more than 20% at a level not seen during the welfare reforms of the 1990s. Millions could lose access to the program with no alternative that they can turn to. When SNAP was previously cut, 10 million people lost benefit, leading to hunger strikes and poverty. Leading to spikes in hunger and poverty. The current proposals is even more severe, threatening even a broader impact. There is no other program of SNAP's scale to fill the gap. Food banks and local charities cannot simply provide the same level of support to millions of newly hungry Americans. Already, food banks are at the breaking point. In 2023, food banks served 50 million Americans and 60% increase in some regions since 2020. Many food pantries are running out of supplies before the end of the month. The USDA, on top of all of this, has cut a $1 million food bank funding, leaving charities scrambling to fill in the gap. This means less food is available, just as the need is about to explode. Feeding America and other experts warn that food banks provide only a fraction of what SNAP delivers. If millions lose benefit, food banks will be overwhelmed and unable to meet demand. With less federal support, food banks expect to offer less produce, meat, and dairy. Many are already canceling orders and rationing food, especially recipients that get less and wait longer. I mean, in the richest country in the world, we're rationing food at food banks. Raising prices makes cuts even worse. You know, we have a rising prices situation where inflation has gone up and stayed up. And when you cut food stamps, you make the crisis even worse. Since 2019, food prices have risen 30%, outpacing Social Security increases and wage growth. So seniors here, food prices have gone up by 30%, and your Social Security hasn't gone up by 30%, at maybe 20. So there's a gap there. That 10% is what you have to dig out of your pocket because you're not getting the increases that you deserve. The proposal that they're putting forward will reduce some food prices, and families are already struggling to afford basics like egg, milk, and bread. And pandemic era emergency SNAP expired in 2023, slashing benefits by $95 per month for many households, and a lot of households have not recovered from losing the pandemic era extra food stamps benefits. Fixed income can't keep up with rising costs, forcing seniors and disabled people to make impossible choices. Many have to choose between food, medicine, and utilities. And there's a severe impact on your health with all of these cuts. Households losing SNAP are 28% more likely to face food insecurity, meaning they often run out of food or skip meals. Children in these households are 33% more likely to go hungry. And studies link SNAP cuts to higher rates of chronic illness, malnutrition, and developmental delays in children. Poor nutrition can also worsen existing health problems for seniors and disabled. You know, as I mentioned earlier, 40% of SNAP recipients are children. So it makes sense that health outcomes would worsen for them when SNAP benefits are cut. Losing food assistance increases stress, anxiety, and depression for caregivers and seniors. This can lead to family instability and negatively affect children's emotional development. And then SNAP recipients are facing a 27% more likely to skip medical care or medication to afford food. This creates a dangerous cycle of poor health and increased medical costs. Let's talk about the economic effects on your local economy. SNAP dollars support farmers, local farmers, and grocers, especially in rural areas. Cuts could reduce farm income by $30 billion and force small businesses to close. Many supermarkets and corner stores depend on SNAP shoppers to stay in business. Without these customers, food deserts could expand, leaving communities with fewer healthy options. Food banks and pantries lack the resources to replace lost federal aid. They estimate they can only provide about 10% of the meals SNAP delivers, leaving millions at risk. Think about that. If the food banks can only pick up 10% of the slack, then there's going to be 90% of SNAP recipients that are going to lose benefits, that are going to have no option or nowhere to go. When hunger rises, states must spend more on emergency services, healthcare, and shelters. This strains already tight state budgets and could lead to cuts in other vital programs. Now, how would this affect seniors? Seniors on Social Security or limited retirement savings already struggle to cover basic needs. SNAP helps bridge that gap and cuts will force many to skip meals or go without essentials like heat or medication. Seniors are also more likely to suffer from chronic illnesses that require good nutrition, such as diabetes and heart disease. Therefore, losing SNAP could worsen the health situation of a lot of seniors who need to eat healthy food, and SNAP provides that money to do that, especially those on diabetes and have heart conditions. Many seniors live alone and have limited transportation, making it harder to access food banks or community meals. The cuts to SNAP benefits could leave them isolated, hungry, and at greater risk for depression and illness. As more seniors turn to already overwhelmed food banks and charities, these organizations may not be able to meet the increased demand. This could have vulnerable seniors without any consistent source of food. And then people on disability, nearly 1 in 4 SNAP households include a person with disability, many of whom cannot work and rely on food assistance for survival. Cuts will make it harder for disabled individuals to afford the nutrition they need for health and independence. And over 12 million veterans, actually it says 1.2 million veterans rely on SNAP to help make ends meet, often due to service-related injuries or disabilities. Reductions could leave those who served our country struggling to put food on the table. And then there's poor nutrition that can worsen medical conditions and increase hospital costs. For people with disabilities and veterans, this will ultimately raise healthcare costs for everyone, including taxpayers. And for many, SNAP is about more than just food, it's about dignity and the ability to live independently. Cuts threaten the stability and well being of people who already face significant challenges, increasing their risk of homelessness and poor health. So let me know what you think. Why is this cut happening? Or what happens if the benefits are cut? Millions of older people on fixed income could lose their primary source of food. This could lead to increased rate of malnutrition, illness, and even premature death among seniors nationwide. Cuts will also reverse years of progress on fighting child hunger, with children arriving at school hungry and unable to concentrate. This can lead to low academic achievement and long-term developmental setbacks. And then charities expect an overwhelming surge in demand, and many families are going to be left empty-handed because supplies are going to be rationed. There's going to be longer wait. Food banks simply do not have the resources to replace billions lost in SNAP benefits. And without SNAP, many families will fall deeper into poverty, risking eviction, homelessness, and long-term hardship. The social and economic costs will ripple through entire communities, affecting everyone. Let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think the government should go ahead and proceed to cut benefits? These reductions will cause real harm to millions of seniors, children, and people with disabilities, and veterans who rely on SNAP for survival. The impact will be felt in every community, urban and rural alike. Charities are already stretched to their limit and one they cannot absorb millions of new clients from SNAP. The safety net will have dangerous holes, leaving many without food that they need. If Congress passes these cuts, millions, including seniors, people with disabilities, and veterans, will lose food assistance. This is not a distant threat, but a reality. Protecting SNAP is essential to prevent hunger, support local economies, and ensure dignity for all Americans. So let me know what you think about this. This is happening right now. As I said, they've put out this press release today. Congress is working on a bill about SNAP getting cut by $230 billion over 10 years. That's a ton of money. I want to hear from you. What do you think of the Harvest Box, or the MAHA Box as they are trying to call it? And let me know whether it's something that you think it's a good idea that they convert your food stamps and turn it into a government box that they pick and send it to you, or do you want to have the independence to buy your own food with your SNAP benefits? Let me hear from you in the comment section. And if you're on Medicare or you are turning 65 and need to get on Medicare, let's talk. I have great news for you. You may not know this, but there are 24,000 Medicare plans out there, and trying to figure out the plan that is best for you can be a huge challenge, which is why 90% of all seniors are in the wrong Medicare plan. You heard that right. 90% of all seniors, 9 out of 10, are in the wrong Medicare plan. But something can be done, and we have great news about that. So we've partnered with Chapter Medicare. Their whole mission is to make Medicare simple, to help you understand, choose, and use your Medicare. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, oh, you've heard about these Medicare companies before. They tell you one thing and then they switch it up on you. That is not what we're talking about here. And actually, the government just filed a lawsuit against those companies that are deceiving seniors into wrong Medicare plans. Chapter is completely different. Their whole mission is to fix that problem, is to be transparent and help you understand Medicare so that you can choose the plan that is right for you and how to use your benefits and get the most out of it. And this came out of a personal experience from one of the co-founders. And here's what he has to say. He watched his parents struggle to navigate the process of choosing a Medicare plan and wind up paying premiums that were hundreds of dollars a month more than they ought to be. He realized what a terrible experience the whole process was and decided to do something about it. This is coming from a personal experience of one of the co-founders of Chapter. And another one of them, co-founders, wrote a book about Medicare. And he said, when I first started my job as a Medicare advisor, I discovered that many Americans were getting misled into buying the wrong plans simply because the fact that no one took them aside or no one sat them down to explain to them what was going on. And so all of this means that Chapter is coming here into this space with a lot of good ideas and good advantages. Number one, they are the only company with access to all 24,000 Medicare plans. So they can see what is in your local area and recommend a plan that fits your needs, your budget, the coverage you need, the doctors you need in your network, etc. And they're not incentivized to push a particular plan. The other companies that I was talking about that got sued recently is because they are trying to push a certain plan. They are not advocates for you. They're advocating for the insurance company. Chapter wants to change that. They are in your corner trying to help you find the best plan for you, and they can save you about $1,100 on average. So call the number on your screen today, 539-205-2147. Don't delay. There may be a small window for you to be able to switch to a better Medicare plan, or if you're turning 65, you have that 7-month window to get on Medicare. These guys can help you sort through all the plans and pick the right plan for you. You can go to askchapter.org/insider. You can fill out a short form and they'll reach out to you also. Here are the people you're going to be talking to when you call them. Real people on their website. These are some of their licensed agents that are working to help you find the best Medicare plan for you. And when you call them, guess what they will do? They will show you every Medicare option in your area that you're eligible for, including detailed information about your doctors, specialists, prescription drugs, hospitals that are covered, what the copays are, and they will then help you compare that to traditional Medicare and make a decision. They are unbiased. Their service is free to you. You don't have to pay anything, and they can help you get the best Medicare plan. So call them and avoid being one of the 90% of seniors in the wrong plan. They are highly rated by the Better Business Bureau, A+ rating, 5-star reviews everywhere. You can read those for yourself online. These guys are the real deal. It's been 15 years since we've been doing this. We've never partnered with a Medicare advisory company until now because we know that these guys are here to be transparent and help you pick the best plan for you. They are not there to pitch anything to you. They're there to show you everything and then help you pick the best plan. So to end all of this, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you're missing out. If you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening in and out of Congress, we have created a newsletter that we send you and help you stop missing out on retirement benefits that you deserve and have earned. We want to bring you real news in your inbox. So click on the link in our YouTube description at the top of our channel. There is a form that you can fill out. Just put in your email address and we'll add you to the list. And you're going to get our latest news updates and money saving tips that can help you stretch your budget and stretch your benefits. So until I see you tomorrow, thank you for watching my broadcast today.